unabridged, unofficial meeting will start now. So for those of you that don't hang out for the after hours, now's the time for you to go ahead and drop off. You ain't got to worry about saying goodbye to anybody. You don't have to worry about feeling bad because you didn't say goodbye to anybody. It's always a pleasure seeing folks in. It was great seeing. I saw about 7 different new names in. I don't know if anyone else saw any new names in, but at least we're reaching some new folks. So that's a good thing. And with that, now it's the BS section. So who wants to talk about what?
I want to talk a little bit more about golden ratio stuff.
You bet.
All right, let me spotlight myself here. So I went out to the shop just now and grabbed my large golden ratio calipers that I made myself. So out of it's just plywood I had laying around the shop. So let me now I showed these pieces last week, and let me do this with the camera here a little bit. All right, so this piece here, one of the things that I was pointing out is that it's a little too high. It's a little too high to be perfectly golden ratio set up, okay? So I can check it with these, and what I'm doing is I'm looking for the midpoint. So this would be the ideal point, and I'm a little high for that. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, so this piece I thought was better proportioned. So I'm going to do the same thing. And it is very close to where this pointer is very close to being where I want it to be. All right. And now here's one of my snowmen. And he is nearly perfectly golden ratioed. Even with the cockeyed hat. So anyway, that's
Matt.
Yes.
Golden ratio just his body and the top of his head.
Right to there?
Yep.
That's pretty close too.
It should be.
Well, but see, with these snowmen, they're funky. So if you get them weirdly out of proportion, that works for the snowmen. Okay.
Yeah.
But this guy, I got some others that are not exact. Well, no, that one's pretty right on the spot too, and so is that one. Never mind.
But, hey Matt.
Yeah.
Hey Matt.
Yes, sir.
I don't think you should be right exactly on the golden ratio. I think you got to use your eye too, and sometimes the golden ratio may not be eye pleasing. Does that make sense?
Well,
a little bit,
yeah.
It depends on what you're trying to do, Howard, and provisionally I agree with you. But one of the things that I've been trying to train my own mind and the way I do my own turning is to get, I'm trying to get a pleasing shape. And I know that the golden ratio is a pleasing shape. So I'm sort of trying to, when I proportion things on the lathe, I'm always working to try to get there. Okay.
Well, that's what I do. I'm always trying to get that on there, but sometimes, a little tweaking here and there, it may look even better. But
I agree. Yep. I agree.
Yep.
And there's, and certainly, I mean, it's not, it's nothing that's hard and fast. You don't, all your pieces don't have to, rigidly conform to the golden ratio or it's for the fire with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you look at a Steve center vase, they're not proportioned that way at all, and they're beautiful.
But
exactly.
It's a great starting point, especially for somebody, a new turner, if they can get that in their mind.
They can start training the eye.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a good starting point for them. And also that catenary curve, if they can start seeing that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I should have grabbed my chain. I keep a little a light pole, big long light pole chain in my traveling bucket because I show that to folks. People talk about catenary curve, and you get the same length of chain, and I need it. Hell, maybe this will work. So That's a catenary curve. That's a catenary curve. Apart for the kinks, right? But
Right.
the
Close
point
to
is,
it.
yeah, but the point is that gravity, and that's not very close, but gravity is going to give you a catenary curve if the only anchors are the 2 points to the side, and things are being affected only by
Right.
gravity. So yeah, so it's a great prop to have with you to explain a shape and a curve. And it's a great way to explain why some curves are more appealing than others, because nature loves the catenary curves. You look at a spider web, all the little strands are all catenary curves.
Right.
A suspension bridge, the Mackinac Bridge between Upper and Lower Peninsula, Michigan, and the San Francisco Bay Bridge, the catenary curves that are the bit between the spans that's holding the whole thing together. That's a catenary curve. It all works together, and it's the most evenly way to distribute weight. It's the most efficient way for curves to be formed, and it's like the golden ratio. Nature trains us to accept that as ideal because it works the best. So I don't know. It's a fascinating sort of study to learn all that and to work towards it in your woodworking. And I mean, that's one of the things. A piece like this, I'm working to get a catenary curve between these 2 points. And when I talk to people about, I teach a sort of an intermediate bowl turning class, and the goal is to take people out of making beginner bowls into something a little more, a little better. And you teach things like OGs and that kind of stuff, but I also teach about the catenary curve and why a catenary curve shape on the side of your bowl is more appealing than something that breaks that curve, or is not as proportional on that curve line. So it's a whole interest. I'm sorry, go on.
The shape of that last one you held up. Yeah. If you were to hold your chain up, you've got a catenary curve on the sides. You just flatten the bottom.
Right. Yes, exactly. From this point to this point. And there's imaginary
No, I
line, if
mean
extend
from the points of each shoulder, if you were to hold the chain and let it dangle, it would dangle where the bottom, or if you just flatten the bottom off. You've got a
Well, I
catenary
got you.
curve there.
You're talking from this point to this point. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of my goals is I want a piece to appear to either float off at the table or I want that completion. I don't want something square into the table. I want something to finish at the table edge or close to the table edge as much as possible. And that's my goal. It's one of the reasons why I do things like put feet on the bottom of bowls. Piece like this here, all kinds of junk here. But a piece like this here, okay, I'm doing that with this piece here too. This is a catenary curve between these edges.
Right.
And if I put this on the table, then it's floating.
Right.
It floats off the table, right? And that's to me, that's my goal. That's something I'm trying to do with my turning. So, and a piece like this does the same thing. So with an OG. And do I make tops? Yes, I make tops. But at any rate, that's my 50 cents or 2 cents or whatever on the subject. But I'm a big fan of catenary curves, and I work to get them into my work, and I work to consider the golden ratio also. So it's and as other people have said, it's not something that's hard and fast it's not something that's rigidly has to be your piece, but it certainly can be a very good guide to turning well-shaped pieces.
It's a good starting point for newcomers to try to get a good idea for a good shape.
I was looking on Amazon at the Golden Rule calipers, and all they have on there are ones for eyebrows and faces. Are they all the same?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes,
Mm.
that one I showed, earlier with the goblets.
Yeah.
You saw those, Dan?
Yep.
That's exactly what that is. That's an eyebrow one. And there's a setup there that has 3 of them, and it includes the one that I have. You know, when I bought it several years ago, it was by itself, but now if you want that one, you got to buy a set. But the set comes with bigger ones, so I don't know if they're this big, but you know, I mean, this one is, you know, I could do something that's like, you know, I could do a 2-foot tall piece and measure it with this. So.
Well, I was looking at them, and you know, I think they were like $15, and there was some that was 30 that were sets.
If you bought a cheap set, you could then make your own.
Yep.
But
and I think we have plans for them on our website too. And you just, you know, if you want a bigger set, you just scale it up.
Dane was telling me, I think it was last week, where he got his, but I'm looking for the calipers for the wall thickness that has got a scale on the one end and a caliper.
Oh, those. Yeah.
And
yeah, those are harder to find. Well, they gotta sell those. I mean, Amazon's got to have those too. Amazon has everything, right?
Oh,
Pat Carroll has them. Pat Carroll has them.
Mm-hmm. I very much agree with the curves. You've got to work on the curves, and I think you're very right. It's a great starting point for anybody new coming into turning to work on that ratio. But I always say this: turners tend to have an eye for things, and if it looks right, it will look right, whether it falls into that ratio or it doesn't fall into that ratio.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it's wrong.
Well, I know that the old way they did it was 1/3, 2/3, or you know, 1/4, 3/4.
Right.
Hey, Dan.
Well, 1/3 to 2/3 is the ratio at the simplest form.
The rule of thirds is very, very close
to the golden ratio. Yeah, Dan,
yes.
I just put a link in the chat to the calipers I think you're looking for. So go check it out and see if that's what you need. Yeah, but see that, and we had that whole discussion. I don't know if it was in the after meeting last week or not, but with these little vases here, I had like this one is 1/4, 3/4, and this one is a lot closer to 1/3, 2/3, and that's why it works better. But yeah,
the difference is then you don't need your calipers because you've already decided that one looks better. And ultimately, that is what you're wanting to achieve. You're wanting people to use their eyes, you know, and a lot of us fail in turning because we don't turn the piece again. We look at it and we say, well, it's not quite right, but then we don't bother. And what you really need to do is turn the next one so that it is right.
yeah.
And if that one's not quite right when you look at it, turn another one. And this is
but I think that part of the game, Martin, is that you have to, in order to make it better, you've got to say, why isn't it quite right? You've got to be able to identify why, you know what I mean? I mean, if you say, okay, that's not quite right, but if you can't say why, then how are you going to make a change to make the next one better? You know, you got to say, well, I've got to move, this point.
That defies saying that it's wrong in the first place. When you pick up a piece and you say, I've done this, but it's not quite right, you must know why it's not quite right. Otherwise, you can't make that statement.
Yeah, but if you can't identify that, then the next piece, you're going to repeat the same mistakes, right?
If you can't identified it, you don't know that it's not right. So it is right.
Well, I like the way you think.
If you like it and it looks good, if it's not right, it don't matter.
That's right.
Yeah, and
That's
for
the
my
point.
money, if somebody outside of yourself is willing to pay you good hard-earned money for it, then that's, then you've solved the problem.
Exactly.
If I had £1 for every time I've heard a turner say, I turned this, but I'm not quite happy. If I do it again, I'll do it like this. And they never ever do it again.
Oh.
And this is what people need to, that they need to say, I've turned this, but I'm not terribly happy with it, but I'm going to have another go.
Yeah,
And have another go.
And have another go. And you might find that when you've had another go, the first one you're feeling better than the second one, or the other way around. And that's what I was saying tonight. That's what I was saying tonight. You've got to have you've got to have an idea of what you're about to create. When you go to that lathe, just taking a piece of wood and turning a piece of wood, you're never going to know what it's going to be like and whether you can do it again. Because if you don't know what size that piece of wood was when you put it on, you'll never be able to put another piece on the same size to have another go. So if you put a bit of thought into it before you go to the lathe, and it's an example that I use a lot when I do a demonstration, an example that I use a lot of the time. If you're having a new kitchen worktop fitted and a joiner turns up to fit you a new worktop kitchen, and your worktop kitchen, let's go back to the old fashioned, your worktop kitchen top is 7 feet long. And the joiner arrives with a 10-foot piece of worktop. What is he going to do? He's going to cut it at 7 foot and fit your worktop. If you say to the man, I want you to cut it at 9'6", 9 foot, 8'6", 7'6", and 7 foot, he's going to think you're a lunatic. But yet, start off with a 6-inch piece and turn it down to a 2-inch piece, and we don't think anything of it.
Right. Which is why a lot of flat workers call us wood wasters.
That's right. We need to, everything that goes onto my lathe, I know what it's going to be turned into, and I know the size of the starter. And I've said this in the group before. When you're turning a spindle, your outside dimension is the outside dimensions of that spindle. So once you've got it turned round, all of your points on the outside edge are already sorted. All as you've now got to do is create beads and coves, and the job is done. The next spindle is exactly the same, as long as you've started off with 2 pieces of wood the same. I could reproduce almost within a couple of millimeters them toppers that I showed you tonight. If I stood in my workshop this afternoon and turned 50 of them, I bet you, without even thinking about it, 40 of them would be the same size.
Probably.
The first 10 would be a little bit iffy, but once the muscle memory's got into place, the rest of them would be all the same. It's why I had to change my snowmen, because another turner said he's obviously got a copy there, because they were all the same. So what I did is I started doing snow people, so that I do 10 snowmen and then I do 2 ladies, and it just throws my eye out. And then I can start again, and it means that the snowmen are all different.
Hey, Matt, those calipers that you sent, they're what I'm looking for, but they're digital, and I don't want the digital. I want the mechanical. where I can actually
Well,
see.
somebody, the link that Billy posted is mechanical, I think.
Yes, it
So,
is.
yeah, go
And
take
they're
a look at
20
that one.
inches in length and not 6.
Yeah, that looks like a great piece of kit there.
I didn't see.
Yeah, thanks,
Bill.
Martin. Thanks, Martin. That's a very good point too. Is
It
that
is.
it's important to jump around and alter your perspective a little bit if you're trying to make things different. That's an interesting point.
Right. Which when I'm making snowman ornaments, I had the same, because they're all roughly, 2-3 inches tall. And so what I've done to make them different, I use men and women, snow people. I call them snow peeps. And I turn them with different hats on them so that it makes me change from time to time and they're not all the same.
Well,
That also reduces the boredom too.
I think
It does.
in this month's newsletter, there is a picture of my last stand of snowmen, because at Christmas time I either do all snowmen or all Christmas trees. So
I do both.
I do too.
And I also do gnomes because people seem to buy more of them at Christmas time too.
Well, I don't sell anything else, Mark. What I do, if you come to my stand, you're buying a snowman. Full stop. If you're not buying a snowman, you're not coming to my stand. So it's what I do at Christmas time. I just sell snowmen.
Gotcha.
Or I just sell Christmas trees, and I literally spend October, November, and December turning just Christmas trees or just snowmen.
Yeah, that's about when I start too. Yeah.
Yeah, but that would get boring to me, just doing all snowmen or just doing all Christmas trees. I've got to break up the monotony with something.
The lathe shouldn't ever be boring. It should be every cut. You should enjoy every cut, no matter what you turn.
Yeah, I don't get that. I've never been bored a minute in my life, you guys. I don't know.
Well,
Every snowman is subtly different. I'm making the
Yeah.
hats as a separate piece, so they're different. So, but it's
Well, that's why I quit turning pins. It was just
that's why I quit turning pens too.
it was so and when I did several production runs on pins, and that was a pain in the butt. Ugh.
I do.
A production turner, I am not.
3,000 snowmen and 3,000 Christmas.
Wow,
That's amazing.
that is amazing.
I spend 3 months each year. I alternate between snowmen and Christmas trees. And the reason I alternate is because I buy the trees. I buy the trees in the January ready for the Christmas time, and the offcuts from the trees become snowmen the next year. As we cut them down, any bits that are broken, you see the snowmen, the small snowmen, they're only 3 inches tall. So I can cut the knots out and get 3 inches out of each of them for the snowmen.
So do you sell all your snowmen for the
Do
season?
what?
Do you sell all of them for that season?
Yeah. I'd rather sell out lacking than have stock. This is why it's very, very rare that I will be able to just grab something and show you, because it's very rare that I have any stock. Even when I go to a show, I don't go to a show with a ton of stock. I go to a show with enough stock to make my money, and if I sell it all, great.
Yeah,
I'd rather sell out than spend hours taking stock that I'm never going to sell. The amount of people that go to a show, I work on a basis that a show should be costing me about 10%. So realistically, if I'm paying £100 for a show, I want to be taking £1,000 in sales.
So Mark, you sell out?
Sorry?
Mark, so you sell all your stuff at one time?
Yeah, what I try to do is sell out.
You sell out every time.
Not every
He
time.
tries to.
I try to.
Okay.
No, I don't sell out every time.
Okay.
That's what I was saying. What I try to do is I work on a percentage. So ultimately, depending on where you're going, you know what you're going to be paying for your stand. So if your stand is costing you $100, if you work on a 10% rule, you want to be taking $1,000. You know, for simple maths. So why put $5,000 worth of stock in your car? Just in case.
Well, I do.
I'm happy taking 10%.
Yeah. I do
selling out.
And I do the Christmas trees and I do ornaments, and I sell more ornaments than I do anything else.
Yeah. But is that because you've got more of them?
It's just different styles, you know, just all kinds of different styles, the sea urchin and then just little rooftops and just whatever's on my mind. I get bored. You got to do something different.
There we go.
More boredom. Oh my God.
You just get bored doing the same thing over and over.
You'll also find, especially at shows, Joaquin, if you're selling stuff at shows, you will find that if you've got a lot of one thing, that will be your best seller. People have a tendency of picking up when there's a group of stuff. So if you've got a lot of Christmas ornaments, you are more inclined to sell a lot of Christmas ornaments than you are having one or two Christmas ornaments, one or two Christmas trees, one or two snowmen, because they don't see them.
But one year I didn't do nothing but Christmas trees, and I sold all of them. You know.
Yeah. Well, you will see on that picture, the whole stand is just snowmen. When I set my stand up, any other wood turner that is in the vicinity that has 6 or 8 snowmen on their stand, they just put them back in the boxes. It's not worth them even attempting to. But it's not like I can compete with them because I won't have pen boxes. Got snowmen. And that's what I sell. And certainly for me, I generate the sales because when somebody comes along, they can't choose which ones they want. And once somebody is trying to choose, the next person comes along. And before you know where you are, you've got 6 or 8 people, and that draws a crowd. And it's always worked for me.
I found
at
out
Christmas time, certainly in the UK, you are competing with every other hobbyist wood turner. They just come out of the woodwork at Christmas time to sell. So you've kind of got to beat them. You've got to, you've got to stand out from them if you're wanting to sell stuff at Christmas time.
That's why I do snowmen like this.
Yeah.
But, that sort of thing's not for everybody.
And
it takes longer.
I sell a lot of those guys like that, Billy, and I have a lot of fun making them. So
I do too.
Yeah, I got them. I only have like 4 or 5 of them left from last year. So
that's the only one I've got left.
Yeah. I got this guy here.
They're fun.
They are. I make a steampunk one and a goth one.
Hey, Matt, what do you get for that size?
What's that?
What do you get for one that size? What are you asking for?
$85 a piece.
Okay.
That's what I get for mine, and they're not as fat as yours.
They're
It's
on a
because
diet.
that's because my box elder is fatter than whatever wood you're using.
I'm using whatever I've got, which is
Yeah, that's exactly what I do. But I'll
a lot of
take
live
all the
oak.
I'll take all the walnut branch wood I can get because the wood is dark and it makes for great dark hats.
Yep.
And people chuck that stuff. People throw branch wood away, and it's like, seriously, dude, that's 100 snowman hats right there.
When I first
Yeah, I
started
find
making Christmas ornaments, I was amazed that somebody would pay that kind of money for a little ornament or a snowman or a tree.
So what do
it's
you like? How big are your Christmas ornaments, Joaquin?
Sir, what'd you say?
How big are your Christmas ornaments?
Oh, about like so. I got.
And what do you get for them?
Let me see something. Hold on.
He's AFK.
He's looking.
Yeah,
I don't have any little ones I can show you because they sell as quick as a turnip.
yeah. I made a bunch of them where I was like airbrushing sea urchins and then sticking finials on them. You know, I made a bunch of them that looked like this.
Yeah, I
You
get
know,
about 45 or 50 for that one like that.
yeah, and that's about what I get too. Okay, cool.
Mhm.
It's good to know that
Yeah,
we're in the ballpark.
I always find it interesting because you'll have a lot of people that say, well, them guys over there, they get all this money for that stuff that they're turning, and we don't get anywhere near as much as that. Your cost of living is probably very much higher than our cost of living.
Probably.
Your wages might be higher. You know, there's lots and lots of different things that are involved in
Oh yeah.
making, you know, and this is the difference. Yes, somebody's prepared to pay $65 for a snowman. And we would think, well, we'll never get that. But then Dane was talking to me the other day. You pay a lot more for accommodation. I think you probably pay more in taxes than we do. And it's all kind of relative. You know, your food shopping bill is probably higher than ours. You know, I would imagine your petrol's a damn sight cheaper than ours.
Yes, it is.
But I would imagine your food shopping is probably more than ours.
Well, but we do tend to have a larger variety than you do too, which is interesting. So there's a lot. You're right, Martin. There's a lot of different factors, and there are certain sections of the country that you're less likely to have all of those things than you are. I mean, U.S. is a pretty big place, so it's you go to a place like New York City or along the East Coast where there's a lot of dense population. Everything is a lot more expensive than it is out here where I live, and I'm not really. I live in an urban area, but it's not country, and you go further out, you go another hour further out in the country and everything is a lot less expensive, but you're also dealing with a lower standard of living too. People live in more modest homes and they drive less expensive cars and older cars. And, it's just a different way of how people live. So it's, and the same is true with markets. I mean, if you're at a local craft fair and everybody's making little trinkets, you can't get much money for anything. You won't sell anything over $45 a piece. You go to a higher end art fair and people are expecting to pay anywhere from, $400 to $5,000 for a piece of art. And it's an entirely different dynamic.
It's like going to
so
it's the market. It's the market that you're in. It's the market that you want to sell to. I always say,
location. It's what they always say.
Yeah. And of course, it's what you want to sell. For me, I've always said this. I'll give you a perfect example. I've got, well, you all know Chris Parker because he's done a bit of a demo on here. Very good friend of mine, Chris Parker. I was over at Chris Parker's place last month, and he gave me a 7 by 7 inch square of Pippi U. He had 2 blocks that he'd been given. And if you have a look on Chris Parker's Facebook page, he has turned that U into a ball. It is absolutely stunning. And while I was at Chris Parker's house, he said to me, "Do you want this, Mark?" I said, "What's that?" He said, "Bit of Pippi U." He said, "You'll make a lovely ball out of that." I said, "Don't give me that, Chris." He said, "Yeah, you can have that." I said, "You do know I'm going to cut it up, don't you?" He said, "You can do what you want with it." He said, "You can have that." All right. So I brought it home. Now, I'm telling you that Chris Parker will have that ball for about 3 years before he sells it for 100 quid.
You're talking about these
I
two
bought-
U bowls he posted recently?
Yes?
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Well,
It
that ball
did-
will be asking about £100 for, so about $130. But he
Okay.
will be looking to sell it in the next 3 years. Chris Parker will show you that in 3 years' time. I brought
Okay.
the same square of U back and I cut it into key rings. I put it onto Facebook. I got 22 key rings out of it. I put it onto Facebook, and within an hour, I had to remove the post because they were all sold out. In fact, there were 6 people paid me that I couldn't do key rings for. They sent me a message saying, "Have you got any key rings?" I'd said yes. There's my bank details. They paid me, and I've had to refund them. There's 6 of them that I've had to refund. All the others sold, gone. So they were £8 each, times 20.
There you go.
Chris Parker
Yeah.
won't get that for his ball.
No, he won't. And that's crazy because that's a beautiful piece. That's a beautiful ball. He textured the rim on that. Is that right? We looking at
Yeah,
the
it
same
is a
one?
beautiful bowl.
I bet it took me less time to make them key rings than Chris took to make that ball.
Right.
I turned them all yesterday morning. I put the post on last night, and then I removed the post 1 hour later. I had to cancel the post.
That's an absolutely great use of the piece of the wood you got. Yep. And you sold it all and you got your money and you're good to go.
Matt, I've got a ball in the house, an oak burr ball. It's 14 inches across, 2 inches deep. And it was such a beautiful piece of burr that I thought, I'm not going to cut this up. I really don't want to cut it up. So I turned a ball. That ball has done 100 miles, about 72 shows. And the last show, I was asking 65 quid for it just to get my money out of the timber. And I've still got it in my lounge.
Wow.
What's the shipping to the UK? It sounds like a spectacular piece of pearl.
Some beautiful burrs, some beautiful burrs. We get. Well, I've just turned another load today. See, I won't even sell these before they go away, but I've got some elm burr and some oak burrs.
Now, are those your key rings? Is that the key rings you make, Mark? Yeah.
Yeah, the shotgun cartridge key rings. I sell about a couple of thousand a year, something like that. But you see,
Look,
don't take any turning. And when you think about it, Matt, I'm turning about 2,000 of them a year at 5 quid a piece.
Right.
And there's no money in them. No money in them at all. And then I do the clocks as well. You see, you've got to have a range of products, but it depends how many you want to turn. You know,
Well,
turning a couple
and
of
I have boxes of things that I thought that I wanted to turn, and I've turned, and they're nice, and nobody will buy them, and they're great
No.
pieces, and it's crazy. And so I sort of set myself a little rule: if I make 5 of something, and I still have, if I make a bunch of things and I have 5 of them left, I stop making them and I make something else.
Yeah, well,
So
people will say to me, how can you make a living out of, £5 key rings? Well, you don't make a living out of selling a £5 key ring. You make a living out of selling 1,000 £5 key rings.
right.
You don't make a living out of selling Christmas trees 10 quid pop. But you do make a living at selling Christmas trees when you're selling 3,000 of them at 10 quid a pop.
Yep. And it takes a couple of minutes to make a Christmas tree.
Mine, it actually takes me longer to put them, not to put them together, but to drill the blanks out before I start. So cutting the blanks and drilling the blanks takes me longer than turning them.
Gotcha.
I'm turning
The
Christmas
actual
tree, kits. And it's a Christmas tree on a post, a base, a post, and a little tree on top. And they cut the material coming down to make the tree.
right, yeah.
So, and I've got an order for 50 of them right now, and they want them by the first of next month.
Yeah, they will do, you see, because they'll start the season.
So I started, I just knocked out all the bases real quick and got them all set up to go. I just got to finish cutting them, the finish
See.
part. And then the dowel rod, I got that all set, and the little ends for the Christmas tree, and they're all set. So it takes time.
Mine are a pain in the ass to do because they're double drilled.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So how big are you making these, and why are you making them in extra pieces? Why aren't you just like chucking up a piece of wood and making a tree out of it?
Because
Well,
everybody can do that.
Okay. Not everybody does.
And that's this is a bit of the problem, but certainly for me, I need to be different. When you're selling a lot of something, you've got to kind of think outside the box, and you've got to put it to market and see if the market want it. And if the market want it, then I create lots of it, and that's what I sell the market.
Right.
And I think I was probably one of the first turners that started incorporating other things into my turning, like lights, like decals, pre-cut, pre-done, laser cut decals that went into things. Even with the bobbies, my bobby clock has now evolved, and I've just made myself an Alexa. So its face is an Alexa, so that I can talk to it. I've also got the one that I showed you the other day, which is a Bluetooth speaker. So a lot of what I do, things evolve. I just come up with a different idea and have a go. The Christmas trees, I might have. Let me go and have a look in the shed, because I might have. Not only do I do a Christmas tree, I do a Christmas tree that is to decorate for the kids. So I might have one of them, because it was the first year I did them, and I do 150 to try the market. I did 150 of them, and I think I sold about 130 of them. So there was a lot of boxes left lying around. I'll go and see if I can find one.
And this is what mine is right here. if you want to highlight me.
Yeah,
Oh, you
well,
don't
I
have to.
see it. What is it, Dan? So what do
They
you
cut-
use it? How do you use it?
They cut fabric coming from here down, and it's a kit. And this comes off, you don't glue it in, and they can change it every year.
Huh, okay.
That's a kit for a family with their kids, and they get them. I'm selling them for $12.
Wow. Cool.
So these are exactly the same as my Christmas trees. I just put them in a gift box in the box. In the box, you get this. So you've got a paint set
Yep.
and a paintbrush. You've got some glitters and a bottle of glue.
Yep.
Cool.
And then you've also got a star for the top of the Christmas tree that goes in there. And then, like I was saying, they're double drilled. And the idea of the double drill, is I buy these bottle lights.
Uh-huh.
So these are just a pain in the ass to open, but they are just a bottle light.
Yeah, they're a couple bucks. Yeah.
Yeah, they're about, you get them on Amazon. I mean, I'll buy them. Obviously, I buy them at $1,000 a box each year, but you can buy them. You can buy a set of 10 or you can buy a set of 12. And basically, you just undo them. We'll see if these are white or coloured because they come in a white and they come in a colour. Pop that off. And batteries. Like I say, they come from China. They're just the thing is that the way that I've designed this is so that you can literally just change them over all the time. So when the LEDs, these ones are white, they also come in a colour. But what I do is when I do my Christmas trees at Christmas time, they're double drilled and the tag goes up. So in here, they have a large hole and a very small hole in the centre. And then the lights can feed up through. So you pull them through the Christmas tree and into the base, which then allows people to turn them
Oh,
on and
wow.
off. So you can turn them on and off and get your fingers in. That's why I double drilled them.
That's cool.
Turn them on. I'll leave myself enough so that people can change the batteries.
Right.
Shove that in the hole and it'll stay up in the hole. And then literally just wind the lights
Into the grooves.
into the grooves all the way to the top. Add your star and wrap your lights around the star to hold them in place. And that is pretty much it.
Cool.
And that means now that when the lights aren't working anymore, you can change the lights. So again, I guarantee my turning for life.
Mhm.
Because there's nothing can go wrong with it. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah,
I can't guarantee the Chinese rubbish, but what I can do is tell them where they can buy a set off Amazon, £2. You've got yourself a Christmas tree every year.
yeah, that's a good idea. Very cool.
This one hasn't got any finish on, so all that it's done is it's just skew finished, because the idea is that the kids paint it.
Right.
Whereas normally I wouldn't put the lights on, I would spray lacquer them, then put the lights on and sell them finished.
That's like this, they just cut the material going down and they can change the material anytime they want.
Yeah. Yeah.
It pops right out for storage. So
Yeah, it's a great idea, Dan.
Yep. Very cool.
they're cheap to make. So
So are you just turning the little Christmas tree at the top? Are you buying the dowel in or not?
now I'm turning this out of some wood I got.
Are you turning the dowel as well, Dan?
No, I'm buying the dowel.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And right here,
Unless you make a dowel cutter.
yeah, which I thought about doing, but maybe later. And just so it sticks in, that's all, you know. But showed it to some people and they said, I want this many of them.
Hard to argue with that.
Idea.
Cool.
Nice idea.
Yeah. Very interesting. Thanks, Dan.
Well, I suppose I'd better go to bed.
Yeah. Me too,
Kept
Martin.
me up again.
Where's Dean tonight? Dane.
Oh, Dane's here.
He's here.
Yeah, he's just watching.
He's hiding out, huh?
Yeah, he's got it. He's got his. He's just listening in his headphones.
Changing his ear pods.
Yeah.
I'll have one
All right.
more
Well,
bag
thanks a
and
lot,
coffee.
Martin. I really appreciate the demo, and I appreciate all the information you shared here tonight. Thanks very much. I appreciate it.
We did.
Yeah, it's
We
good
did
stuff.
all right. Like I said, it was just a very quick demo. I wouldn't have liked to have seen us not have one.
Yeah, I liked it.
Oh
I
yeah,
liked
thanks. Rub it in.
Sorry, I didn't know my fucking earbuds weren't working. God damn it.
I
like that,
appreciate you jumping in and saving my bacon, Martin. I really do.
It was a pleasure.
Hey guys, I always have something on tap. You ever stuck, you can always give me a ring too. So
Well, see, I didn't know, Matt, until demo time or
Ah.
meeting time.
Yeah, I
I'd
popped
just-
in at I popped
it
in at
was-
5:30 and sitting here in my chair, and Dane said, "You're still on for tonight, right?" And I was like,
You taking
are
the
you
piss.
pulling my leg or did I screw up?" I screwed up.
yeah, I usually need a little more time than that to prepare, but well, it's all's well that ends well. So I think that the meeting went very smoothly anyway. So it's all good.
Yeah. Yeah, it went all right.
Martin
Yeah,
had
like-
bits of light all over the workshop. Stole his
I like-
wife's phone to get through it.
I liked your skew work there, Martin.
It'll have been different for you.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
gonna go out
yeah.
in the shop tomorrow and see if I've got any half-inch steel out there to make one of them skews.
I
Well,
tend
you
to,
I know. I
You can
don't.
start with 1/4-inch rod making that skew, Matt, if you have 1/4-inch rod.
Well,
Yeah.
I know I have 1/4-inch rod, and I also have another one of those 20 millimeter by 20 millimeter rods, squares too. So I got options.
I don't
But
know if
I
would
want
do
the
a
I want the
square.
big I want the bigger one. I want the bigger one though. I'm hoping for a half-inch rod. So
Yeah, I wouldn't
I-
do it with square rod
I wouldn't either.
because
Right,
you gotta
yeah,
gotta be
yeah,
able
it's-
you gotta be able to have that roll from the round stock. Otherwise, you won't be able to maneuver it.
yeah,
this
I
is-
completely agree. I
Okay.
completely agree. And it's, I don't know, I have a stack of that stuff stuck in one of my cabinets. We had a guy drop by the club meeting about a year ago, and he had a whole bunch of these hardened steel rods that he was trying to get rid of. And so I don't know, I took about 5 of them and I don't remember what sizes they were. So maybe I've got one that's even bigger than that. Maybe I've got a 3/4 inch one. So.
Well, I'm not.
Right.
When I say that there's not many people use the skew like I use the skew, I'm not blowing my own trumpet. What I'm saying is I break all the rules. Everything that everybody is supposed to be have learned and been told about the skew, I break it. Because
well, I want to break the rules like you're breaking them. I just don't have the correct tool.
I think a lot of people will have seen tonight how's he well, looking at the questions, the amount of questions, that is, I've never seen as many questions. What is that? Forget what he's turning. It doesn't matter about what he's turning. What tool is that?
Well, it's I mean you and I have talked about the lathe knives, and
Yeah.
I bought the one from that Colin guy in the UK who was making them a while back, and was kind of disappointed with what we got. So it's I haven't pulled the trigger on the next one. So this is like a good interim step if I've got the 1/4-inch steel or whatever to make it with.
Well, all you got to do is, if you still got that lathe knife, all you got to do is go and cut that knife head off that he put on there, which is a piece of shit. And now you got your round stock and grind your own.
Yeah, I may do exactly that. That may be exactly what I do.
Because it's nothing but a paperweight right now, as is, what he provided. At least you got a piece of steel in return for your money.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair.
That's more than a lot of other people.
Yeah, well, and I know that the lathe knives that you're bringing in, Martin, are beautiful. I wish I could pop for one of those. I just can't do it right now, but they're perfect. So
they're a nice tool, but you'll have heard me say tonight, you don't need them in your arsenal.
Right.
Any tool is the way you work it and the amount of hours you put in. All the guys tonight that said, "What is that? How is that? How am I going to make that?" They are not coming on here next week and using the skew like I do. It's not going to happen. They will have a go at it, and I'm sure that people will contact me and say, "Can you give me a little bit of indication on because what you saw tonight was very little really of what I can do with that skew. To make a ball in the center of a spindle is seconds. For me to make a ball in the center of a spindle.
Well, I mean, a lot of the things I turn are well suited for a tool like that, and for something like a lathe knife. I mean, the big snowmen I make with the balls, that's a perfect use for that tool, So yeah, I mean, it's one of the reasons why I do use that little lathe knife I have on snowmen sometimes. So it's just, it's just a great tool for that, making big balls, and it's a great tool for making finials and the stuff you were working tonight. So we'll see.
Well, you'll have seen the ball on the top, even just the ball on the top of one of these. It's still part of a spindle. You can reduce it and increase it very, very quickly with a skew.
Yeah.
Get it shortened down. I haven't got a spindle wanker.
That's okay. Yeah, I can see the potential. I can see what you can do with it. So just watching you do it has been eye-opening, because I can see where I can take it. You know what I mean?
Well,
and I'm sure that you're years ahead of me in the way you use it, because you use it all the time. So yeah.
I always laugh when I'm doing a demonstration, especially a live demonstration. I say to people, when you buy a skew, every skew that you buy comes with 300 catches.
Is that
It
all?
normally stops. You've used the 300 by the time you get to the end of the tool. Unfortunately, then you've got to go and buy another one that also comes with 300 catches. My skew only has 100 catches. It's a little bit easier to use. But my skew is slightly shorter than the standard skew. So you need to use them quite quickly.
So what you're saying is your catches are far more damaging.
I must say it's very rare that I do get a catch with my skew. I will get a catch with my skew the same as you will with any other skew when you get it into a situation where it wants to throw the tool out. And that's where a lot of people go wrong. I always say this: clear its path. Make sure that if you've got waste at each side of whatever you're about to cut, get rid of your waste first, and you'll find that the skew will just follow the pattern with you.
You work your way down a little bit at a time. You make the space for the tool to get in there. Absolutely.
You've got to make the space for the tool. If you're ramming that tool into a situation where it wants to throw itself back out, you're going to get them catches. And another bit of advice, really, with a skew, once you've cleared the paths, if you lose that bevel contact, and many people don't realize, but I've seen this a lot on YouTube, people showing somebody how to use the skew, and they will instantly, let me get my lathe knife because my lathe knife is bigger. They say, if you imagine this is a straight skew, what they do is they mark these center pieces, and they say, when you're using the skew, you should be between them pieces and not the points. And it drives me mad when somebody is trying to tell people who have never used a skew that they can only use this part of the blade.
The toe and the heel are the best parts of the skew.
The
Agreed.
toe and the heel, you require point contact when you're coming round a corner.
Right.
This
Exactly.
the wood, because this edge here is cutting through the fibers. So when you're going through end grain, you have to have that point contact. You've got to be at the bottom or the top of the skew. On mine, it's not as important, but I'm either at the top or the bottom. It makes no difference where I'm cutting, and I change my angle slightly because of the sharpness of the tool.
Right.
So depending on the blade is, if I'm using the same part of the blade all the time, I'll grab a sharpener.
Yep. Makes good sense.
You've got to have point contact. When you come round a corner, you've got to have a point of contact. Otherwise, it's going to throw you out.
Yep.
Well, and even if you're doing the simplest of skew maneuvers, if you're even, if you're just making a V groove, you're doing it with the point, and you're riding the bevel on each side as you make the groove deeper. It's the same sort of game. And then if you're going to take it the next step and you're going to make a bead, let's say you're making a snowman to make that bead curve, you're following that, you're riding that bevel and you're following that point down into the,
you got to cut that end grain.
Yep, and you're riding the bevel around the curve, around the contour. It's the only way to do it, and that's how you get good slices where you don't have to sand. And it's like, and that's my goal.
That is probably one of the differences with my tool matter, because you've got the toe and the heel, and on mine, neither make any difference.
I noticed that.
You would use them the other way around.
Like I say, it was very educational to watch you do it.
Yeah, I go back and forth toe and heel all the time.
Yep.
Depends on what I want to do.
That's what I showed on that demo that I did with the offset pin handles, was primarily using the toe.
Well, if you're turning an offset and you're using a skew, that's the only way you know, it's the most efficient way to do it. You've got to get in there and make those cuts. Yep.
No, I mean, all of them,
I don't
you know.
remember what video it was. I was making a snowman or something, and I was using the toe of my skew, and a seasoned wood turner made a comment on my YouTube video. He said, "I noticed that you primarily use the toe to cut with when you were turning this. I've never tried that. Do you do that all the time?" And I said, "I actually go back and forth depending on what I'm trying to do, but sometimes I like the toe better."
Yep. Sometimes it works better. Sometimes the wood set tells you that in order to get that good cut, that's what you got to use. So
Mhm.
yeah. Yep. And sometimes I'm
Do
using
you
the
see
heels.
that?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, if you can go closer, that would be even better.
I don't
Going through
think I
that
could
again.
zoom in on this camera because I think
If you pinch your screen, I think you can.
You
if I
need an
turn it round,
articulated arm. That's what you need.
Just turn the video off.
give me 2 seconds. That's it. Right. If I turn it round, right. I can't zoom in. I thought I might have been able to zoom in. Ah, I can zoom in. Can I still hear you? Can somebody speak?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
How about that?
Does that work?
Small wonders.
Yes.
Is that working?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
I can't see what you can see.
Yeah, that's really good. That's a good close view. Thank you, Martin.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good thing all the complainers can't see this. How come he couldn't do that during the demo?
Technical issues. Technical issues.
So remember, 30 minutes ago, he was aiming to go to bed. Now he's doing another demo.
Shh, don't remind him. I'm glad I stuck it out.
Yeah, we've had many a
I think
many a
we went
late
through this
hour
once before.
conversation doing stuff like this. Hey, look, Dan's back in time.
Right. This cut, top edge. This cut.
Look at that. Oh, that's beautiful. That's a thing of beauty, man.
Great peeling cut.
And he's going uphill too.
Yep.
See, I totally need one of these tools.
You know, that uphill, downhill thing with the all rounder allows you to do that as well.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Make a little snowman,
Right?
sand it with your finger.
Is that what he's doing?
Show you there was the traditional way, turning round with a skew into there, or round with a skew into there, and the
Right.
same here at this point. Where it
Yep.
differs for me is I use the top point an awful lot. You're actually cutting uphill, which is what you're not supposed to do ever in wood turning, because that's what everybody tells you. This tool allows me to do that, and you can see the shavings that are coming off, and you can see
Yep.
the finish that's coming onto the timber. So you're still rubbing the bevel and you're still cutting, but you're making an incision with a point and then coming round. Now then, the other way is this way.
That's just basic skew stuff, but you're doing it. Yeah. That's fascinating.
Is Joaquin disgusted with what I'm doing with it yet?
I don't think he's still on.
No, I am
No,
fascinated.
he is.
I
Was
totally
he was,
understand.
was he that disgusted that he's logged off and buggered off?
No, he's on. He's
I-
on.
What I
So
discovered, with a flat skew, when you're cutting in the middle or below, it's on the edge. That there
yes.
is centered where you're not got an edge where it slams it down when you go the wrong way.
No, so I am that cut that I was making there, my skew is upside down.
Yep.
Yep.
I do
Lost
a
your
lot
camera,
of
Martin.
I do a lot of
I'll-
uphill cutting
I'll
myself.
tell you the story behind that. When you buy a skew, there's no frigging instructions with it.
Martin, we lost your camera.
Must be formed on the thing.
There you are.
Yeah, there is. When you buy a skew, there's no frigging instructions.
No. Probably a good thing too. You're muffled. I think you got your finger over the microphone.
Yeah, there was nothing in the box to tell me how to use the skew when I first bought one. So what I ended up doing is I learned to use the skew upside down, and it was only when I went to a club that somebody said to me, "You can't do that. The skew does not work like that. You need to do it like this." And I said, "But I've been doing it like that for a long time. It does work." And he said, "It's impossible. It doesn't work. Show me." And I showed him. And he said, "I've never seen anybody use a skew upside down." I said, "Well, I'd better start learning how to use it the right way." So then I started using it the correct way. So now it doesn't matter which way I have it in my hand. It will do what I want it to do.
There's a guy in my club who is in the same thing he's self-taught, and he started with basic tools and a skew and no instruction, and he uses the skew upside down too. So I'm with you, man.
I do too. I use it upside down probably more than I do right side up.
Yeah,
I do
but again,
both. Yeah, I'm with
I'm
you guys.
self-taught and I did what worked for me.
Right.
It works for me. And like I say, I've always said this: you practice with the tools. You can see what somebody else has done. Whether you agree that it works or it doesn't work, it obviously works for them. I don't believe that there's anybody can say to me, "You can't use a skew," because I can. Whether I'm using it correctly is a different matter.
according to their pre-established norms.
I don't like norms.
I don't either.
I don't either.
Don't need it.
If you go with a normal, you'll never learn anything, will you?
I do.
I always say this: the wood turner that knows everything isn't a very good wood turner. The wood turner that knows everything is not a very good wood turner
I agree.
because he's not prepared to
Very
learn.
true.
Right.
Then I must be pretty good because I know nothing.
That's the way to look at it. Yeah. If you're willing to learn and you're willing to listen.
Yep.
Because it's funny because even a novice turner can pick a chisel up and use it differently, and you think, what a clever idea that is. Or I do. I mean, I watch everybody, and I'm always the first to ask why, not because I'm being rude, in the fact that why are you doing that? I've never seen that done like that. I'm saying that because I want to understand why he has learned how to use that tool. And if that is better like that, then I want to have a class. And I often find that, you know, it's worked for me over the years. I've watched what somebody else has done, and then I've tried and gone and had a go myself.
Right.
You know, I don't believe that there is starting to be more and more people using skews like mine. There was a lot of people used to round the ends of the skew. I can't get away with that at all. Cade is very, very good with a round-ended skew, you know, with the nose taken off. I can't use that. You know, even my what I call my miniature skew, which is this one, is still the same shape.
Right.
Yeah, that's that Alan Lacer grind. I've got one of my SKUs ground like that, and I really like it.
Well, it's pretty much the same sort of design. Good night, Patrick.
Night, Pat.
Night, Pat.
I am almost following you. Well, not actually following you.
Be a long swim.
Hey?
Yeah, I think my wife wants to watch TV, so I'm gonna have to get off the tube.
Yeah, I do a lot of uphill cutting on finials, and with a gouge.
Yep.
But I'm using that gouge like you'd use a skew on the side.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, Martin Pigeon's renowned for that.
Okay.
You know, he is renowned. He's renowned for using his like that. He puts a very, very short bevel on his spindle gouge, and that allows him to cut the cove in and back out.
And as well as spindle gouges and a regular gouge. Depends on what you want to do with it. And one night I was just tired, you know, I had a bunch of ornaments to make, and I just wasn't paying attention, started going uphill, and I was amazed just what it would do.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you're not always when you're cutting uphill, you're not always scraping, and you'll know if you're scraping because you're not getting shavings, you're getting dust, and you're making a mess. It'll take a lot of sanding back out. But it is definitely possible to cut uphill depending on the grind on your tool.
Of course, my favorite stew is only a 1/2 inch wide, you know, and it's not as much error using a 1/2 inch wide one.
Nope.
Well, again, you see, with the slope, you're actually extending that quite a lot. I've got tape. I must have a tape measure.
Hey, Martin.
Yeah.
What degree are you putting on that round?
This one.
Oh, don't go there. I'm talking about the bevel. You know what it is? I mean, are you using a 20 like on a standard or what?
No, I cut it back quite a lot.
Do you? Are
Yeah.
you
Have you got an 8-inch grindstone wheel or a 6-inch?
okay? Hold it up edgeways where you can see it. Other way. Okay.
This,
Looks like about a 30.
well, I'll tell you because does that help?
Yeah. Yeah, I got it. I mean, Alan Lacer, he says on a regular stew, the bevel should be 1.5 times the thickness of the stew. And so I didn't know what that was. I was in his class. I went and got my trigonometry tables and figured it out, and it's 19 degrees point some odd minutes. So
Well, I always
grind them
I
at 20
always
degrees.
I always tell people to get them as long as they can.
Okay.
Try and keep them as long as you possibly can. Mine, I put it on, and it gives me this hollow grind. So
Right.
from the bottom here to the top there, and as soon as I see the sparks coming over the top, that's when I take it off.
Okay.
And then I turn it over and I put it on, and I wait until I see the sparks again, and then I take it off. And the angle of the skew itself is about 45. If you put the two blades together,
Yeah,
you get the corner of a
Picture frame.
picture frame.
90 degrees.
yeah.
Yeah.
I seen you do this a couple of years ago, and I've been going to make one and just hadn't done it.
But you see, that's 1/2-inch steel. But my blade length is nearly 3/4.
Yeah, that's what I would have guessed.
So my actual blade length is nearly 3/4 on what is a 1/2-inch steel.
But it makes total sense. You're saying yours is just 100 catches, when
Yeah.
this would be a flat stew. When you got it like that and you're turning in the middle, there's more chances for slamming down than there is with that round one.
Yes.
When you're riding on the edge like that and you get up there on top, it's going to hit and take something out. But I see how much advantage that round is. You ain't got that. I can see where you can cut on the toe, a heel, and all over that thing.
It's like the fulcrum's eliminated.
Yeah, exactly right, Dane.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you are, guys. Joaquin says it's easy. Blame him. I said, there you are, guys. Joaquin says it's easy.
Hey, Martin.
It's got to be
Martin,
easy,
maybe
not to say easier.
Martin, maybe you should pass your new pupil on to Joaquin.
Yeah.
But we like Joaquin, so we wouldn't do that.
Oh, shit.
Oh Lord.
Good stuff.
Right?
Yeah.
Martin, I once again, granted, you know how appreciative I am of it, but I really appreciate you stepping up tonight,
Bother.
taking care of the demo for me when Billy wasn't able to do it.
Now you went
No
and did
bother
it.
at all.
I
Billy-
ordered
Billy
a
would-
1/2-inch high-speed steel bar.
Did you?
Yep.
Good.
So next demo, Billy.
Maybe.
He set it. He set his alarm this time, so I will remember to I always double check a couple days in advance. I've
You
been out
usually
away from the
do.
shop. I've been out doing manual labor, helping my daughter's boyfriend build a shed, and today I sat down, ate lunch with the wife in the recliner. Normally I always eat outside because if I go in, get used to that AC, Then I eat, I'm in the recliner, I'm going to close my eyes, and I didn't wake up till 3 o'clock.
Job done.
Hey, Martin.
Yeah.
You know Richard Finley's specialty tool, that 3/8 square parting beading tool?
Yes.
Do you think this would do the same thing with a square bevel on it?
No.
It might, but I don't think it will.
Okay.
No, Robert's shaking his head there as well. Robert's having none of it.
Be like a bidet.
Yes. Yeah.
No, I'm talking about putting the square on a round one. Instead of that bevel on it, have it flat like he has on that beading.
On a round, I think you'll cause yourself more problems there, Joaquin.
We'll have to find out.
Yeah.
You can always
And
regrind it.
the only reason why I'm saying that, Joaquin, is that the way my skew is, it's fashioned off. It's fashioned off what was the Russian knife. What is the Russian knife? Well, the Russian knife's also a round bar.
Okay.
And I think if you take that and put it onto a flat bar, you might end up with more problems than you know.
I've made one very similar to yours out of a 1/4-inch drill rod.
Yeah.
And it's my go-to piece for small detail work.
Yeah, I bet it is.
Just like you, I can use it
Yeah.
upside down or backwards or however you want to phrase it.
Yeah.
And it's controllable, especially for small stuff. You can get in and out of tight spaces with it. And it's if you keep it sharp, it's a great tool.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you've seen what I use mine for. I use it for pretty much everything. It's my, I can cut the cove with it. I can do small stuff. You know, when I was turning this tonight, this kind of thing isn't an issue. When you're trying to get into a tight cove, you'll never beat a spindle gouge.
No.
Even Steve Jones would tell you that. Why are you trying to create coves with skews? There's no need to. Pick up a spindle gouge. You'll do it in far quicker time and make a better cove of it than you will using a skew. The skew's all right if you're running a long cove. If you're coming from a bulbous at the top down like a vase, the skew works. But to create a cove, there's the cove that I've done on my
Higher.
Pick it up.
Hold it up. There you go.
Yeah, there.
There is the cove that I have created on the rod that I'm going to sell. There is the cove that I created tonight with the skew.
Mm-hmm.
And now when you look at them, you can see the bottom one's shockingly bad.
Right.
You've muted yourself.
Much more pleasing.
Much more pleasing.
Yeah.
And what I've done there, you see, is I've just grabbed the spindle gouge from behind me.
Mm-hmm.
Also
Like
cuts
I said.
down on the number of passes. You keep going back and forth with the skew. Oh, went too far down. Oh, went too far down.
Like I said, you will always get a nicer cove with a spindle gouge than you ever will with a skew.
And then, like Joaquin says, you can walk it up the hill too, so it's no big deal.
Yeah.
Like what I call walking the dog.
Yeah. Neat.
Yeah, a week or two ago, I was watching Billy on YouTube cutting up wood, painting it, getting it ready to dry out.
That's what I do.
I don't get to watch a lot of YouTube. I see a few of the guys on TikTok when it tells me that they're live, but I don't watch a lot of YouTube. I've never really been one for YouTube.
I've been seeing a lot of you on TikTok lately, Martin.
Well, what I tend to do, it's only recently that I had to kind of adapt and start getting myself out there. For the last 8 years, I've turned, and any turner that has come anywhere near my sites, I've binned. I just canned them off. I did not want other turners. My main customers were my customers. Whereas COVID slowed things down a bit, and I started getting a bit of a "who are you?" And then, of course, last year with losing the workshop and having to move house, I had to redevelop myself. So I did sort of come out of the closet. Sounds terrible, but I did come out of the closet and started sort of hitting the circuit and doing a little bit more. So yes, you sometimes I do a little bit on TikTok, and I get around some of the clubs, and I've done a couple of demonstrations. I'm going out to Hungary next week, and I'm talking to a guy who's setting up a wood turning training room over in Budapest, and he wants me to do some training over there for him. So I'll probably be backwards and forwards in and out of the country.
How long are you going to be gone for, Martin?
This time I'm gone for 4 weeks. I'm going over all of July. So I'm leaving tomorrow. By the time I get there, it'll be around about the 6th because I'm driving over.
Right.
And then I will stay there until about the 1st of next month and then come back. So I'll be away 4 weeks. I've still got a bit of finishing on my house to do. And ideally, I'd like to get my house over in Hungary finished and put onto the market. Because I've got my eye on a bigger place that would make a turning retreat centre in Hungary, that would do retreats, and it's got accommodation so people could actually come and stay. So there's a market there for people to come and stay, while wood turning, and also run other courses. That's my long-term plan. And I've actually got I've got a guy who is very interested in buying into it. So he's looking at potentially purchasing the property and then me looking at it, but I need the money out of my house to be able to put into this one as well. So we'll see over time whether it comes off. But if it doesn't come off, that's my long-term goal.
Right.
That's my plan.
Yeah.
So if
Then you got
anybody
to worry
wants to buy, if anybody wants to buy sort of 5-bedroom accommodation and that sort of thing in Hungary, there's a good investment there for anybody. But if not, I'll be putting it together myself at some point in my life.
Right. It's all